8, and this is part 3 of my little 3-part weekly update series. What I'm trying to do right here is simplify what goes on in these 2 videos right here. If you want to really see what I'm doing in depth, by all means watch all of these, but I'm trying to shorten this up. So really when you're doing your splines is you're taking your tangents and now you're playing with the graph editor and you're doing a few other little tricks to kind of clean up the tangent. So a cleaned up tangent becomes a spline. The words are really interchangeable. I'm just trying to differentiate the project names. Please try to do 3 things in this little set. Remember, it's only 12 points. It's just a little bit of update. And then the big submission was the one after this one, where you're just trying to clean up and add keyframes and just make the animation look as best it can be. It's very challenging. Some of you are on laptops. Some of you, we're not in the lab. We're all in a different setting. So really go easy on yourself with this animation. I know some of you don't want your animation to look cursed or like there's something really wrong with it, but just kind of do your best, okay? So try to do 3 things with this project. Try to create a hold or 2, and I'll show you what that is. Try to adjust the Y translate components of the waist control and the foot control on the graph editor. And then lastly, try to clean up the extraneous movements, and that's more of a guess and check, and that one's going to be probably the longest part to explain here. So let's try and do 1 and 2 real quick, and then I'm not going to do a good job on number 3. All right, so here is the tangents, and there's issues with the tangents, right? What they call this is swimmy. This looks too swimmy. He's just constantly in this like fluid, constant, permanent movement, and we know unless we're at a music festival, we don't always just kind of move like that. We still kind of put our pauses in, we stop, we look around, there's other things we do, so we want to make sure we're not looking too swimmy. That's what they call it. All right, the first thing to do is to get rid of, to create holds. Right? So there's certain parts in my animation I was imagining me kind of stay still for a moment, like about a half second, maybe even longer. So, like right here, when he gets to his landing, I wanted him to stay kind of crouched for a little bit. So here's how you create a hold. Ground control, our good old friend, the ground control. Right click, select hierarchy. Now I can see all the poses that I have, and I wanted 24 to last a while before he stands up. I kind of want him to kind of sit there, okay? So I want pose 4 to almost be exactly the same at frame 42. So the easiest way to do this is make sure you select the hierarchy of the ground control. I could copy paste, but I like to do the middle mouse click. So I'm pushing down on the wheel and I slide to the right. Notice he hasn't moved. And I'm just going to press S. So now he stays, now that's 2 still, right? Boom! And he's still as a statue. So what I want to do is I want to adjust 42 just a little bit, okay? So I'm going to pull down 42 just a little bit. Maybe pull down his head, just rotate his head down just a little bit to really kind of make it look like he's absorbing that impact. Maybe pull the arms down even lower. Just notice I'm doing just like the tiniest little movements there. Just a little bit, right? Just to kind of make him look not so statuesque. Boom, he's absorbed it, right? All right, so that's what we call a hold. I'm going to do it one more time over here. Like after he does his spin kick, right? I want him to stay in this ready position just for a second before he starts to wind up for his kick. So once again, the hold's pretty easy. Right click, select the hierarchy. Find that pose I want him to stay at. Middle mouse click, just press that wheel. Slide it over to the frame you want. I'm going to try 90. We're going to go back with the dope sheet later and adjust our timing. So now, again though, he's staying too still. So I want him to just a little movement at frame 90. I'm just going to kind of move it up a little, move it over a little, right? Maybe rotate his back just a little. So yeah, maybe get his neck moving in the right spot. So he's looking at the right spot again. There you go. So there we go. So now he's not swimming as much, right? So he took a spin kick, and then he goes into his kicks, right? That's called a hold, okay? The next thing I want you to try is I want you to play with the up and down movement of the waist control and the feet control. Okay. So I'm going to grab the waist. I'm going to go to my graph editor up here, Windows, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, right? Okay. So it doesn't look like the big mess we did from the last project. We just see one control now, which is good. And we're going to hone in on just one aspect, translate Y. Okay. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want this to look like an upside, like kind of like the ball bounce. Remember the ball bounce? So I'm going to focus in on this, the big drop right here. And so he's up in the air. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, this is right where he's about to touch ground. So I'm going to break this handle. If you can't remember what that is, it's that one that looks like a V up here. The half gray, half red. I'm going to break that handle. And I'm going to pull that up. And if I hit F to focus, I can see it more dramatically. I'm just going to accelerate it. Notice, oh, you can't see it. If I move my scrubber over, I can start to see him change positions a little bit. Like his feet are getting a little out of whack already, right? But this is going to recreate that acceleration curve. I'm going to do the same for the blue one. Translate Y, A. Oops. Hit focus for that one. I'm going to break that one. Oops. Didn't have to break it. That. Pull that one up a little bit, just so it gets back to that pose. And then same thing for this one. Now I'm going to do this also when he's taking steps. I'll do that in a second. So once again, translate Y. And then this one, I'm going to break this guy. So it's up right there. So now what's happening is his feet come down, boom. It just looks like he's more naturally stepping. Now, when he does a step, that's also the other place where you want to kind of mess with the, right here where he stomps down. One more thing to point out, since I'm looking at it right now, I meant to tell you this earlier in the video. Every once in a while, you see how his foot got twisted? It's a little bit of a bug in the system. It's definitely fixable. We're going to fix it at the end because you fix it, we do a few more adjustments, and guess what? Something switches it back on. You fix it, you do a few more adjustments, it comes back on. It'll keep it's going to be this reoccurring nightmare. So just kind of live with it, and we'll fix it at the very, very, very end. I know that's very hard for some of you, but just kind of know that I'll show you how to fix it. We do that at the very end. What I want to do is another translate Y is right here where he stomps. You want to make it look like he's really accelerating and hitting the ground. So another thing to do is Window, Animation Editor, Graph Editor. Right? Translate Y. And it's right there. Boop. And so what's happening is, boom. I want that just to kind of come in. So I'm going to hit F. I'm going to hit that, break that handle, and pull that up a little bit. So what that's going to do now is it's really going to look like he's stomping. And really hitting that ground hard. So every time the ground hits every time the foot, hits the ground, you want that to be close to flat for just a moment to really make it look like he's impacting the ground, right? That it's really kind of being pulled down by gravity a little bit and really kind of hitting that ground. The flatter it is, the steeper to flat, the more it's going to look like an impact. You can do this for other things. I'm not requiring it. Like if your character slams against the wall, you're probably going to want to do a steep to flat or a steep to flat for translate X or translate Z. I'm not requiring it. I'm not covering it right now. The longer videos, the videos that are listed right below this one, those will go into it even more in depth. All right, the last thing I want you to try and do is with the graph editor is try to clean up some of those movements. So a big obvious one, there's a couple of spaces here, but a big one is here at right after the landing when he goes from here to here, he kind of dips down way too much. There's two ways you can go about this. One, you could try a clean up with the graph editor. So by all means, it's going to be rotating. Rotate Y, X, Y, Z, right? You could try to readjust some of those things. The other thing you can do after you've cleaned this up with your splines is you can kind of just add a few extra keys here. So that pose looks good. This is too far deep, so I'm going to pull that. I'm just going to add a few more frames here, kind of like a breakdown. we're just kind of, as he's getting up, so I might wind up. So he's too crazy over there. So I'm just adding a few extra keys till he gets right to where he should be. So there are going to be certain points where you might have a key. Oh, there we go. So what I've done is I've just rekeyed him, and I've given him these additional keys. What that might look like is you might be able to get rid of some of those keys now that they've given you a clue of how to move him, but I don't think they did. Yeah, and that's okay. You could have a few moments where you have a keyframe every single frame for a joint or two. So now that looks way cleaner. Let's see. Yeah. All right. And again, when he does this, I create another hold here because he kind of goes slow motion, low spin kick, and then goes. So once again, just to kind of show you, take you back to square one, create that hold, right click, select hierarchy, just to bring it back to point one again. Right here, before he goes to spin kick, he's kind of doing the slow motion part. So I'm going to select the hierarchy, middle mouse click, slide it over to about 60 maybe. Press S. I can always adjust this later with the dope sheet. And so now he holds it. And again, he's holding it too much. So I'm going to go like this, just kind of give him a few little tilts to kind of get him ready for that. So 3 things to do. That was too much. There you go. So he gets ready, and then poof. So those holds really help out. Selecting hierarchy, middle mouse click. There we go. Right? So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. If you need more, these 2 videos here. So this video I'm recording is going to go right above these 2. So these are the older ones with Link and the newer ones with the Ninja. Between all 3, hopefully only this video is all you need, but if you need more, there's down below. I go into it even more in depth. All right. Have a good one. Email me where you get stuck. I have open office hours. I can also schedule a Zoom with you. Have fun. We're almost there, guys.